He headbutted one player, elbowed another, and knocked one out cold with his knee, not caring for 1 second that the King of Spain was right there in the stadium watching everything live. Maradona.
I'm Christian, and welcome to my channel.
City streets are calling out tonight, loud tonight. Neon lights like fire in the fight, in the fight. Cars collide, chaos screams my name. Chasing dreams inside this pixel game. Concrete jungle, I on these streets, fast-paced.
Welcome to Christian's Gaming and Reactions if you're new, and welcome back to Christian's Gaming and Reactions if you've been watching. And in today's video, we're going to be reacting to the day football lost Diego Maradona. And yeah, if you want to support me as a content creator, make sure to subscribe to this channel and subscribe to the Christian Does Everything channel with post notifications on so you get notified when I post my daily videos. So let's get into it.
There are moments
Huge Maradona fan, by the way. Huge Maradona fan.
And then there are moments that end them.
Both analyses of the urine sample have proved to be positive. And until the case is finally settled, Diego Maradona remains suspended from all footballing activity.
In 1994, the world witnessed the sudden and shocking downfall of one of football's greatest icons. A player so mesmerizing, so untouchable in his prime, that many believed he wasn't just a legend, he was football itself.
Like when they
Diego
say the
Maradona
number,
had done the impossible.
when they
He
say
had
number
conquered the
10
world
in Argentina, I don't think of Messi, I think of Maradona. Really, the number 10, any. If they say something soccer in the number 10, I think of
But
Maradona.
for all his brilliance, he had demons, ones that would eventually consume him. And on that fateful day, during Argentina's opening game of the 1994 World Cup, the final chapter of Maradona's international career was written. It wasn't an injury. It wasn't age catching up to him. It was something far worse. This is the story of the game that ended Diego Maradona.
Dang, bro. He was wasted potential, bro. Bro, he could have became so much better. Like, he was already goated. Like, he could have even became even greater, bro, if he didn't do the cocaine.
Diego Maradona was leading Argentina
Bro,
out for
if
yet another
Maradona didn't do
tournament,
cocaine, bro,
just
he
as he
could have
had
been even
done
better
in
than he already was,
1986,
bro.
when they conquered the world for only the second time, and in 1990, when they reached back-to-back World Cup finals. The game was against Greece, and it was expected to be a walk in the park for the South American giants. And indeed, it was. The game ended 4-0, and Maradona was on the score sheet. But unbeknownst to him and the rest of the world watching, that was to be his last goal for Argentina, because of a really silly decision he made. But for you to truly understand what happened in that particular game and why it led to his ultimate downfall, I have to take you back to the very beginning. You see, if you never got to watch Maradona play, I'm sorry, you just weren't lucky enough. He was a real sight to behold and a proper entertainer. At 5'5", he was often one of the smallest players on the pitch, but the things he could do with a ball always left everyone stunned. He started his career at Argentinos Juniors, and just 4 months after he made his professional debut, he made his international debut with the Argentina first team at just 16 years of age. Yes, he was that good. He could have won his first World Cup on home soil at the age of 17, but the coach decided not to call him up for the 1978 World Cup because he felt he was too young. Well, that happened for a reason. Maradona was never made to be a supporting cast. He was always destined to be the hero in his own story, so he had to wait. He played his first World Cup tournament in 1982 at the age of 21, and that tournament seemed to set the tone for what his entire career would look like. He played the opening match of the tournament at the Camp Nou, a place that would become his home that summer, and then he was one of the most fouled players in the entire tournament. In the game against Brazil, with Argentina losing the game 3-0 to their deathly rivals, Maradona lost his temper, kicked Batista in the midriff as a retaliation for an earlier foul, and got sent off. He was so young, but he had already announced to the world that he was an assertive player with God-level talent, but a very hot temper. Anyway, after that tournament, Maradona signed for Barcelona for a then world record fee of £5 million. The year was 1982. If you thought he was good before then, you should have seen him at Barcelona. Maradona was so good that he became the first Barcelona player to receive a standing ovation from Real Madrid fans at the Santiago Bernabeu, and this came in a cup final in 1983. He scored in both legs to help Barcelona beat their arch-rivals to a trophy, so he instantly became a hero. But something significant happened in 1984, which effectively put an end to this hero's Barcelona career. Despite being the best player in the world at the time, the Argentine was always prone to violence. He had shown it as a 21-year-old at the World Cup, and he showed it again as a 23-year-old in the 1984 Copa del Rey final. During that game against Athletic Club, Maradona was repeatedly hard-tackled by Andoni, the same player who had nearly ended the Argentine's career with a nasty injury the previous year. Maradona was also booed and subjected to racial insults from the Athletic fans. Barcelona would end up losing that game 1-0 and missing out on the trophy, and after the full-time whistle went, a frustrated Diego just snapped. He absolutely lost it and went berserk. He headbutted one player, elbowed another, and knocked one out cold with his knee, not caring for 1 second that the King of Spain was right there in the stadium, watching everything live. Maradona's actions led to a really huge brawl on the pitch between the Athletic and Barcelona players, and the Argentine was right at the heart of it all, kicking and punching whoever was within reach. Fans would later get involved, throwing objects at players, coaches, photographers, whoever they could find. Eventually, about 60 people were injured as a result of this brawl, so Barcelona decided they had had enough. Yes, Maradona was a pure talent, perhaps the greatest they had ever had at the club at the time, but that attitude he displayed that day was an absolute disgrace, so he was sold. That final was the last game he ever played in a Barcelona shirt. He moved to Napoli in the summer of 1984 for another world record fee of £6.9 million. In Naples, he was presented to a record stadium attendance of 75,000 people. He was undoubtedly the biggest football superstar in the world, and was now playing in the biggest and toughest league in the world at the time. During his time at Napoli, Maradona led Argentina to World Cup success in 1986. Then, he went on to lead Napoli to their first ever Serie A title in 1987. He would help them win another Scudetto in 1990 to establish himself as the club's greatest ever player and all-time top scorer at the time. That same year, he led Argentina to the World Cup in a country which had become his second home, Italy. He notably helped the South Americans defeat Italy on penalties in the semi-finals, a game which was played in Napoli's home stadium, and led to a bit of controversy with the home fans being a little divided. Anyway, Argentina eventually lost to West Germany in the final, a loss which made Maradona very emotional. You see, during this time, Maradona was on top of the world. There was no player on the planet who could come close to his level of superstardom. He was a phenomenon, a colossus, a religion, and all of that began to have some real negative effects on him. He started to party a lot, miss games, use an insane amount of cocaine, and was even allegedly in bed with the Italian mafia. Napoli fined him up to $70,000 for these things, but it didn't stop Maradona. He kept indulging and kept paying the fines. But it all came crashing down for him when he tested positive for cocaine use, which led to him being slapped with a 15-month ban from football, forcing him to leave Napoli in disgrace in 1992. During the period when he was absent from football, he got into more trouble, getting arrested for possession and trafficking of cocaine. After he had finished serving his ban, Maradona returned to Spain to join Sevilla, but he soon realised that he was no longer a fan favourite in Europe, so he decided to pack it up and return home to Argentina, where he was a god. He joined Newell's Old Boys in 1993, and the following year, he led Argentina to what would be his final World Cup at the age of 33. Whether he planned to retire after that tournament wasn't known, but what we know is that he was forced to. Maradona surely would have loved to bow out of the biggest competition on a high. And well, he did. Only that it was the wrong type of high. You see, Prior to that tournament, everyone thought that Maradona was finished. He had been absent from football for more than a year because of his ban, was no longer playing in Europe, and had put on some weight. But when we saw him in Argentina's opening game of USA '94, it was obvious that he wasn't finished at all. That game against Greece started with Argentina on the front foot, and Gabriel Batistuta opened the scoring in the second minute of the game, a goal which was assisted by Diego Simeone. Just before halftime, Batistuta doubled his tally and the lead for Argentina. Despite not yet finding the back of the net, Maradona was everywhere for Argentina in the first half. He was dribbling, creating, orchestrating, and even tackling. It was a proper vintage performance from the captain, which gave fans some faith that he could lead the Albiceleste to their third straight World Cup final. But whatever faith those fans had tripled in the 60th minute when Maradona, surrounded by 4 Greek players, found the back of the net with a beautiful curler from the edge of the box. The goal was iconic, but the celebration even more so. Maradona ran to one of the cameras, screaming passionately at the top of his lungs. His eyes were bulging, and his face was distorted and scary looking. People all over the world could tell that the captain's eyes didn't look normal, so FIFA decided that they would have to run a test on him. Before that happened, he led Argentina to the second game of the tournament against Nigeria. And in that game, he put up another very good performance and was very instrumental to the win. He was directly involved in both Argentina's goals as the South Americans beat Nigeria 2-1. After having won their first 2 games, Argentina were on top of the table and on top of the world. But they soon came crashing down when the news broke. Diego Maradona had failed the drug test and was immediately kicked out of the World Cup in disgrace.
Both analyses of the urine sample have proved to be positive. The player Diego Maradona of the Argentinian national team has therefore violated the provisions of the doping control regulations in the match Argentina-Nigeria. And until the case is finally settled, Diego Maradona remains suspended from all footballing activity.
The announcement was made just 6 hours before Argentina's third game against Bulgaria, and it sent shockwaves throughout the entire world. But of course, none was more affected than Argentina. Without their talisman, the South Americans lost 2-0 to Bulgaria and eventually got knocked out in the round of 16 by Romania. Apparently, 5 variants of a stimulant named ephedrine were found in Maradona's urine sample, and the captain was sent home, effectively putting an end to his World Cup, as well as his international career. Ironically, this one time, it apparently wasn't Diego Maradona's drug problem that led to his fall. In his autobiography, he said that he failed that test because of an energy drink named Rip Fuel, which his personal trainer had given him. According to him, he had been taking the energy drink in Argentina and had not failed a test. But seeing as his supply had finished during the tournament in the US, his personal trainer got him the American version, which happened to contain the banned substance. But for a player with a history of drug and alcohol abuse, who was in fact just returning from a 15-month ban a couple of years prior, it was surely going to be very difficult to give him the benefit of the doubt. Once again, he was banned for 15 months, which meant that he didn't play football till 1995 when he rejoined his old club, Boca Juniors. But his story with drugs didn't even end there. 2 years after his return, Maradona failed yet another drug test, but this was the last one he would fail.
Just
because
stop
shortly
failing
after
drug
that,
tests, bro.
he
Just
retired from
stop.
football.
It's not worth
Diego
it, bro.
Maradona
Just
achieved
stop.
a lot in his career, much more than most footballers could even dream of. He won Argentina the World Cup as captain, won Napoli their first ever Scudetto, scored the goal of the century, is widely regarded by many as the greatest ever player in football history, and, till this day, is still worshipped in Buenos Aires, Naples, and so many other cities in the world. But there was just always a huge blemish on his life and career. The talent was undebatable, but the discipline was negligible. He just wasn't able to control himself when it came to drugs, alcohol, and other substances, and it ultimately led to his downfall. Of course, he will always be remembered as a footballing anomaly, but do you think he would have been much greater if he got his drug problem under control, or never even had one in the first place? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you want to see...
That was the day football lost Diego Maradona. That was a great video. I'm Christian, and I'm out. Peace. Peace.